Hello, denizens. I've been thinking about this topic a lot, and you know me, I think a lot. The concept of superhero burnout has been bandied about lately, and while I believe there is some truth to that, I'm wondering if it's really 3D animation burnout, or more specifically, people dressed in costumes and I'm not feeling like they're in any kind of jeopardy burnout. Of course, if you're 10 or under, your mileage may vary. It's perhaps why I can rewatch Iron Man 1, Nolan's first and second Batman movies, Richard Donner's Superman, Spider-Man 1, but not rewatch Avengers Infinity War or Endgames again, even though I liked them at the time. I've seen The Matrix, well, more than 30 times, and the Lord of the Rings trilogy, 10 at least. So I know there is still a child somewhere inside of me. Oh, and please do not contact my wife directly, as she will go on at length about that. But let me rewind a bit. There seems to be this massive fear on the part of Marvel and most likely DC under gun as well, that we must have this logarithmic overarching story arc that will culminate in a galactic battle with the entire universe at stake every freaking time. I'm not entirely sure most of the creative people behind these machinations have ever read comic books. How many did I read as a kid where the cover promised the death of Batman, death of Superman and Robin and Spider-Man, etc.? Often it was just clickbait. But other times they did die, and then next month they were back again. No explanation required. Not that there were many ways to send complaints to the comic book companies. The only time I wrote to them was to get a bucket of green plastic soldiers and a packet of sea monkeys, which turned out to be brine shrimp. Anyway, I just don't understand the fear they have doing the same thing that comics have done for decades. This interconnected universe they've come up with has become death. Fans are now picking apart continuity mistakes. Continuity changes were the rule when a favorite character was handed off to a new artist, like Neil Adams' Batman run, where he took the Caped Crusader back to a more gothic theme, as well as his dynamic art style. Do I have to mention Steve Ditko, Alex Toth, or Jack Kirby? And maybe therein lies the problem. 3D has revolutionized the ability of the studios to realize these fantastic adventures, but while it was fun and refreshing to see our superheroes as real flesh and blood, it's just another animation style, and it's gotten boring. I've come to the realization that real life is boring compared to comic book art, where you can do anything you want. It's why manga is so popular. I will linger on a single graphic spread and absorb the details of the artist's effort. Ironically, in many ways, the anime versions of the original manga are a bit of a letdown in the same way that the live-action version is a letdown of the anime, maybe more. The live-action version of Alita Battle Angel was a damn good try, but it was not as good as the anime, which was definitely not as good as the manga. Same with Ghost in the Shell. You just can't duplicate the variety of experiences you get in comic books in live action. Tim Burton certainly infused his Batman movies with a Tim Burton touch, for which we are all grateful. Certainly Snyder's The Watchmen was revelatory, but now it's all feeling a lot like an assembly line of people dressed in spandex. Add to that the complete lack of interest in seeing a 3D animated antagonist. Steppenwolf in the Justice League movie was uninspiring. I will give credit to Marvel for Thanos, however. It was also clear that they had sweated the details and made him fully realized. Tip of the hat for that. I don't have superhero fatigue. I have humans dressed in costumes fighting obvious animated bad guys fatigue. And honestly, once Iron Man is flying about, he's animated also. And none of it can match the hyper 3D panels in the Superman versus Spider-Man comic for visual depth. But live-action superhero movies are still a thing. How can they be fixed? Immediately after the Avengers Endgame, I expressed my opinion that there will never be another Thanos. And it would be a mistake to try to make new movies hinging on some galactic calamity, because how much bigger could you make an antagonist than Thanos? Well, notwithstanding Galactus. But anyway, I had suggested in my naive way that perhaps it would be better to bring the superheroes down to street level. And even with the limitations of live action, there's enough creative space to give us different experiences. The Batman with Pattinson gave us a Batman that was so darkly lit that it could have been a podcast. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, was a perfect example of where not to go. 1, it was a slave to a feeble attempt at the new Marvel arc. And 2, Ant-Man was the wrong vehicle for such an attempt. Ant-Man only works in the real world, as the first movie so enjoyably proved. I'd be happy with more Batman detective and his gear porn, more Clark Kent and less Superman, more Spider-Man college screw-up. I think it's why I enjoyed the first Captain America and Wonder Woman. The World War settings made them fresh and in context. In fact, a crossover World War era movie teaming up the Cap and Wonder Woman, well, that would be, I think, a hoot. Make the next Shang-Chi movie 100% Hong Kong-style kung fu. Take a page out of John Wick. How come we aren't suffering from John Wick fatigue? It's because we are seeing real people choreographed expressly for our entertainment pleasure, and not Chris Hemsworth in Thor regalia jumping off a small trampoline in front of a green screen only to then cut to his heroic exploits taken over by a computer running Maya. In summary, between the original comics, the animation, and the real-life versions, I think the superhero movies and TV shows are actually the more inferior of the three. But in the meantime, cut down on the 3D animation, street-level stories, more relatable drama, and don't worry about the silly giant arc. I look forward to your comments. Till next time, denizens, be seeing you.